You say that you don't like them, but I see you all the time. Keeps you.
Hey everyone, my name is Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be reading one book in one day, and it's really exciting because it's a new release and you can probably see it, and it's Crier's War by Nina Varela, and I am just so excited to read this book. I'm going to try to read it in one day and hopefully I will have a review afterwards, definitely non-spoilery. I don't want to any spoilers for this book, but I was given this by the publisher and I'm so grateful to have it because I was super excited about it all year and it just seems like such a cool book. So I'll read the inside of the dust jacket to you guys, and it says, after the War of Kinds ravaged the kingdom of Rabu, the Autome, designed to be the playthings of royals, took over the estates of their owners and bent the human race to their will. Now Ayla, a human servant rising in the ranks of the House of the Sovereign, dreams of avenging the death of her family by killing the Sovereign's daughter, Lady Crier. Crier, who was made to be beautiful, to be flawless, and to take over the work of her father. Crier had been preparing to do just that, to inherit her father's rule over the land, but that was before she was betrothed to Skyr Kinnock, who seems to have 1,000 secrets. That was before she discovered her father isn't as benevolent as she thought. That was before she met Ayla. Set in a richly imagined fantasy world, Nina Varela's debut novel is a sweepingly romantic tale of love, loss, and revenge that grapples with what it really means to be human. So basically, this is kind of like a sci-fi fantasy sort of, it seems like maybe like a cyborg-esque sort of book, and it is a sapphic romance, which is really awesome. I love reading sapphic romances, and I haven't read too many that are fantasy or sci-fi in some way. And depending on when this video is put out, it's either going to be put out on September 30th or October 1st. So if it's put out on September 30th, this book comes out tomorrow, October 1st. If the video gets posted on October 1st, it comes out today, which is super exciting. So I'm gonna jump right on into this book. Okay, so I've read the first 30 pages of the Crier's War, or just Crier's War, I guess, and I'm really enjoying it, and it seems like it's kind of going between two different points of view, which is really fun, and I love dual perspectives, but I'm actually really enjoying it. I wasn't really sure what I was expecting with this book, but it's super interesting, and I really like the way that it's written. It's very softly written. I don't really know how to explain it. It just feels very soft and calming, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm also listening to one of the Star Wars soundtracks, the one for The Last Jedi, and I really like it, and I'm super excited to finish this after work. So I moved up here. So I moved out here to read my book, and Chewy wants to sit on my lap. Hi, Chewy. I'm trying to read. No, I'm trying to read my book. So I'm currently, let's see, on chapter 6, page, I want to say almost 90. Okay, 85. So I'm on page 85 right now, and I'm loving it. It's such a good book. And Chewy, do you like it as well? Chewy, do you like the book? He said no, but I think he'll like it in the end. So I'm really enjoying it. It's getting to a really good part, and it's just such a subtle, soft, warm, fun, cute fantasy book. It's definitely not high stakes or really action packed. It's definitely a bit more quiet and calm. I don't know if it's totally political or whatever. It has a lot of politics in it, but not it's not the huge main focus. It's kind of more about humanity and stuff like that. So that's super interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just such a good book. So I think I will probably be able to finish it today. It's looking pretty positive. So I just took a quick shower because it's around like 9:30 and I have to go like to class tomorrow. Well, actually, I don't think I'm gonna go to class. So I'm just gonna go to Starbucks tomorrow. But I am currently, let's see, I'm on chapter 17 of Crier's War, which means I am on page 306 of Crier's War, and that means I have a little over 100 pages left. I think about like 120 pages. So I'm just really excited, and I am loving this book so much. Like, it is just so good. It's so well paced. The characterization is amazing. The plot points are just like, it's hitting every plot point. And I'm really enjoying it so much. I love the romance in this book. It's not like a very like romance heavy book, but it's there and it's done so well. So I'm just really enjoying it, and I can't wait to see how it ends. And I'm pretty sure that this is a series, possibly. I don't know. It seems like it'll probably end up being a series because I can't see how everything will be resolved by the end of this book. So if it's a series, I'm super excited for the next one already, and I'm loving it so freaking much. Like, I don't even know what else to say about this book. It's just so well written and really beautiful. It's also super simplistic, so if you're not like typically into fantasy, or if you find it really hard to get into fantasy, I totally suggest trying out this book. It's a little long, it's a little over 400 pages, but it's written really simply. The world building is super simple, and this is definitely a really good book to start off with if you're trying to get into fantasy. Okay, so I'm going to start reading again. I'm still listening to the Attack of the Clones soundtrack. It's probably my favorite Star Wars soundtrack. So, it's usually either Attack of the Clones or Rogue One. Sometimes Revenge of the Sith, and that's about it. Those are like my 3 favorite Star Wars soundtracks, or I guess scores. And they're just the best. I think Attack of the Clones has the best score, mostly because it has Across the Stars, and that's the best song from any Star Wars movie, or really any movie in general. It's just the best. It's so good. Across the Stars is amazing. Anyway, we're gonna get back into this book and hopefully finish it by tonight. I have that much left, so I think I should be able to finish it. Okay, I'm super sad because I just sat here talking about my feelings about Crier's War and it didn't get any of it. I've just been sitting here and I just realized, I looked at the camera and I'm like, it hasn't been recording. Okay, so I just finished Crier's War, this book right here, and it was absolutely fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars. Also, I just took a shower, so this is why my hair is like this, and I read this book in one day. Kind of one sitting, almost. I read the first 30 pages before work, and then I finished the rest of it after, and I took a shower in between all of that. And I really loved this book. Like I said earlier when I was trying to record this and I didn't record it, I can't believe that. I literally can't. I'm just like, how did I not realize I wasn't recording? Anyway, I'm gonna try to like wrap this up because I've just been talking about it forever. So what I found super interesting with this book is that there are these kind of human-like creatures that aren't exactly human. They are called autome, and I really enjoyed getting to see the differences between the humans and the autome, how like the autome are basically modeled after humans, but they're kind of like, they're the most beautiful versions of humans. They have taken like specific traits from humans that are like quote unquote good, and then traits from kind of like, I guess you'd say like an automaton, and taken those traits and put them into these beings that are created called autome. And it seems kind of a bit like there's some alchemy in there, so a little bit of like science-y things, but what I really liked about this book is that it is kind of science fiction, but almost like it's a fantasy version of science fiction. So I found that really interesting. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm not a huge science fiction person, but I feel like when science fiction is done in a more fantasy setting where it's not straight up realistic science, where it's more fantasy science, I'm like down. I'm so into it. And basically the two main characters, one of them is a human, one of them is an autome, and it was very interesting to see how they interact with each other and kind of see the same world through two different perspectives. And I found that I really enjoyed the relationship, or like I guess their quote unquote relationship, because they're not exactly together, but they kind of have a little bit of a hate to love romance going on. And what I really liked about this book, I know I keep saying what I really liked about it, but I really enjoyed the way that the hate to love relationship was kind of treated as something that wasn't linear. Like, even their character development wasn't linear. It wasn't like, oh, character starts off here and then A, B, C, and D happen and they end up here. It's more like character ends up here, then they go over here, then they go over here, then they go back here, then they go over here, then they go over here, you know. And it's so interesting. It almost felt like at times that they were taking one step forward and then two steps back, but not in like a super like frustrating way. It was in a more complex and complicated human-like way. So while it made total narrative sense, it was very human-like the way that they were progressing throughout the narrative. And I found it so interesting and complex. And it was never like they were 100% good or 100% evil, or that they 100% loved each other or 100% hated each other. It was just like a mixture of all those things, and there was so much gray area throughout this book. Another thing I really liked was that I felt like the narrative was pretty even throughout the entire book. It never really lulled too much to the point where I was like, oh, I'm bored. It was all very evenly, I'm super interested in this. Everything that's happening is very important to the narrative, and I really enjoyed that. And I felt like reading this book kind of reminded me of why I love fantasy, especially YA fantasy. I feel like I've been reading a lot of contemporary and historical fiction and stuff like that lately, which I love, but I think that my favorite genre really is fantasy. And when I read books like this that are so inventive and interesting and captivating and complex and diverse, it's just so much fun. And it really reminds me of why I love fantasy. And I just loved getting to read a fantasy that was sapphic. I've only read, I want to say, a couple of fantasies, or at least a couple of books within like the sci-fi fantasy genre that are sapphic, and it just hasn't been enough, definitely. But I'm so glad I read this. I'm so glad that the publisher sent this to me. I feel so grateful because it was so good, and I like want everyone to buy this book. It is just so good. I think if you're looking for a book with kind of like morally gray characters, with a hate to love aspect, in a fantasy semi-sci-fi setting, and you want something that's sapphic as well, this is definitely the book that you're looking for. And it was just awesome. I loved it so much. And I love the tagline, one mortal, one made, one loved, one betrayed. And I feel like that's the perfect way to sum up this book. That's really what it's about. And I think what I really liked about this book as well is kind of the commentary on morality, on emotions, on what makes someone human. I found that was a topic that I really liked being explored in this narrative by this author, within this story, with these characters. And I really enjoyed it, and it felt like a fantasy book that I was reading with a purpose, rather than just being like, I'm bored, so I want to kind of fill my brain with fantasy things, which I do sometimes, and I love those kind of books as well, where it's literally just me enjoying a fantasy setting. But I felt like I really took things away from it, and this book really makes you think about humanity and, you know, nuances within humanity, and I really loved it. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. I found it to be written very simplistically, so if you're not super into fantasy, or if you're a little intimidated by fantasy, you can still pick this up. It's super simplistic, the writing is simple, the world building is pretty simple and easy to understand, and it's very immersive. I found myself diving right into the world, right into the stories immediately. I felt like it really did a good job of weaving in some like historical elements within this fantasy world, which I feel like sometimes when fantasy novels try to do that, it comes off a little clunky, but with this book I found that it was just very natural and I just really enjoyed it. It was definitely a super great fantasy, very easy to read, and I'm glad that I was able to read it. I love getting to read new sapphic books. Okay, so that was my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that if you pick up Crier's War that you let me know what you liked or what you didn't like about it. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your favorite characters. I want to know what you think is going to happen in the next book, because I am ready for this series. I need to know what's going to happen next. And I loved it. Also, I think my favorite character is Crier, so I just loved her. I thought she was so sweet, and I loved just her complexity. She was just awesome. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Also, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram. I was about to say YouTube, and I'm like, you're already here. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! I'm kind of freaking out that I finished this book in one day. I literally woke up this morning and was like, I gotta get this book done. I have to read this book and I have to finish it by today. And I did it. I'm so proud of myself.
Say that